Do you know how to protect Workbook interrelation between worksheets and worksheets alone when you finalize your work and want to pass it to your manager? Here I address all including locking the cells, hiding the formula and protecting pivot chart and table. Hello, this is Zinat and I'm so delighted to talk about a very useful topic at the releasing stage of our work, which is about workbook and worksheet protection. Please stay with me for the next 10 minutes and let's explore some cool features for data analysts in Excel. Just let me quickly address that we have several stages in working on a project. Design, collecting the data, implementation, testing and releasing. Hence, in this video, I'm going to talk about protecting our work at the release stage. As a result, we disallow unauthorized access to damage our work. Let's see what we have now. I have prepared a sales report processing the sales data for several chain grocery stores across the UK. I want to protect my file at the end and then send it to my line manager. That phase is so-called releasing stage or final stage. As you can see, this workbook contains several worksheets. One is staff details. Another one is sales details. Then I have sales report, pivot report, and finally a sales dashboard assessing the performance of each sales agent and forecasting their performance for the next year. I'm going to share this workbook with my team while I'm going to protect it, preventing any damage to it. 3 levels of protection are addressed in this video. First, workbook level. We restrict access to our workbook for opening or modifying the file. Second, a structural level. We restrict people from adding, moving, or unhiding worksheets. Third, worksheet level. We lock all cells or selected cells, as well as hiding the formula on all cells or selected cells. Looking at this figure, it is shown that changing the level of protection is like moving from a bigger bubble to a smaller bubble down at the worksheet, cell levels, functions, etc. Hence, it is important for data analysts to set the level of protection according to the demand required for their final work. This is quite optional and varies from one analyst to another and one team to another team. Okay, let's begin with terminology and definitions. We protect our money by depositing it in bank. Similarly, we protect our emails by setting a strong password or multi-factor authentication. Setting a password is a way to protect our assets and this allows others to use it, waste it, modify it, or simply say, damage it. In this video, we will review how to protect our Excel files in different levels by setting the password. The first layer of protection is Workbook. We try to save the file as always we do. In this window, we choose the tools located next to the Save button. Then we select General Options. As it shows, a window is popped up and we can set a password for either opening the file or modifying the file. Setting the password for opening the file will allow us to protect the whole file. The team who has the password can open the file and make the changes in the file. Setting the password on modifying the file will set protection on modifying the workbook while cell is unlocked and the formula is visible and the structure of the worksheet is unprotected. There is a tick box called read only. This will set the file to be only read on. It means that if someone made any changes, he needs to save it with a different name because we protected it. To protect the structure of the workbook, meaning the interrelations between worksheets, we click on the review menu and look for Protect Workbook. When we click on the button, a window is popped up, allowing us to set a password and select the level of protection. We choose whether a structure, interrelations between worksheets, or window is protected. Setting a password is optional. I won't set the password and proceed. Okay, you notice that you can create a new worksheet, or when you click on any existing spreadsheet, several items of the menu are disabled for you. The reason is structure protection. Now, in order to unprotect the workbook structure, we just need to click on Protect Workbook again to inactivate it. Let's check the interrelation between worksheets again. Great! Now, I'm going to protect several cells to be selectable by users, while others not, as well as hiding the formula on several cells. First thing is to select those cells to that we want to apply exceptions. Exceptions are hiding the formula and selecting the unlock cells. To do that, we right-click on the cells and in the Format cell, we look for the Protection tab and then we select the Lock option. To hide the formula on range of cells for the protected file, we first select those ranges and then right-click and choose Format cell again. Here we select the Hidden option. As you see, the Locked option is left locked selected. Now we go to the Review menu and click on Protect Sheet. Then a window popped up and we set up the password. Here we have lots of options and we can grant permission for users to have them. Let's ignore them now and only set the password. Okay, we set the password. Right. We are asked to write the password again. Okay, let's check the cells. Right, we have no permission to see the formula. On the other hand, the list is selectable for us and we can choose different cells again from the drop-down list. When I select any person in the drop-down menu, we can see that the charts and tables are updated. By this method, we could allow the user to work with a drop-down list and view the formula on some of the cells while we hide the formula for some other cells. Protecting the worksheet presenting pivot table and pivot chart has a trick that I address now. Here I have a pivot table and pivot chart including two slicers. We want to make sure that cells are locked while we can work with the pivot table and pivot chart. The first step is to set up the exception. Right-click on the pivot chart and select Format Chart area. Then select Size and Properties. Then Properties, and then I make sure that I deselect the Locked checkbox. Similarly, when I click on slicers, slicer properties are shown and we disable to locked checkbox. Okay, now it is the time to click on Protect Sheet. In this step, we need to make sure that we don't allow users to select the locked cells and allow them to use the pivot table and pivot chart. Okay, now we set the password. Re-enter the password. Great. As you see, pivot chart and slicers are not locked and we can select them and change them. Let's select some of the product category. Okay, both table and charts are updated. Have a play around with all the options in Protect Sheet and see how you can work with your workbook and really impress your team.